Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast with me, Karen Maloney. I am your host, and the intention of this podcast is to help us open our minds, get curious about ourselves, and to raise our vibration and consciousness levels. Through these conversations, we hope that you will go on an inward journey to discover the truth of who you are and to become aware of your own energy and vibration. We have the power to consciously create our lives, but we need to wake up to this fact before we can begin the process and learn the key of self-responsibility. Check out the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, Castbox, or whatever platform you listen on, and please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Leave a review, leave a rating, as this will help it to reach more people. Check out my website as well, Soul Power Light, www.soulpowerlight.com. Hello. Welcome to this special episode. This is the second year anniversary of the podcast. Can you believe it? We're 2. It's mad. I can't believe I'm here 2 years in, because I procrastinated for so long about starting the podcast. I kept putting it off. I had the message to start it, but the fear, I didn't know how to do anything. I had no idea about how you record a podcast, how you edit it, how you publish it, none of that. So I procrastinated for so long until I eventually just exhausted myself and was like, oh, I just need to start. And that's the thing. You just need to start, no matter what it is. Take that one action. And next thing, I did the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I learned as I went. And here we are 2 years later. And I am so grateful to everyone who has listened, who has shared the podcast, who has reached out to me with a message saying how it has supported them. I am just so eternally grateful. And we have reached over 30,000 downloads, which again is phenomenal. It blows my mind because, again, the marketing side of things is not my forte. But it's something I hope to grow even more this year and over the coming years. So again, thank you so much to everyone. And please continue to share it, talk about it, mention it to others, share your favorite episode, leave a review, because this all helps it to reach more people. For this 2-year anniversary as well, I couldn't have imagined a better conversation. Solveig Barrios joins me, who joined me last November as well. And Solveig is from a long line of Mayan spiritual leaders. And after our first episode, I just knew I had to have her back on again for another conversation. And this is our follow-up conversation, which talks about reality and illusion from the Mayan perspective. And it is super interesting. And again, I really enjoyed the conversation. So for anyone who may not have listened to the first episode yet, I encourage you to go check it out. But Solveig comes from a family line of spiritual leaders, and she's the founder of the Mayan Wisdom Project. She's the daughter of renowned Mayan elder Carlos Barrios, and she began to learn about the Maya geocosmovision from a very early age. She is currently on the path to becoming a Mayan spiritual leader herself. And together with different spiritual leaders from all over Guatemala, she has founded the Mayan Wisdom Project, which brings some of these ancient wisdom and technologies to Western culture. Again, this is a super fascinating conversation with Solveig, and we're talking about the big illusion and how, according to the Mayans, which also is in other cultures as well, how this reality that we live in is actually a big illusion. And she goes into details on how that is so, but also shares so much information on how we actually have the power to control and change and be in charge of our personal reality. And that's the power that we hold. So there's just so much in this conversation. It's hard for me to pick up on a few things because every time I speak with Solveig, just every cell in my body is vibrating. I get so excited and it just makes so much sense as well. And you may be thinking, well, why do I want to know about the Mayan culture, or why do I want to know about the illusion? And the answer is because it makes so much sense, and it helps us to gain a bigger perspective of how interconnected we all are and everything is. And the Mayans were an extremely advanced civilization and still are. And the fact that they have all this information to share with us, and that's why Solveig now started the Mayan Wisdom Project, to bring more of this information, because it will help us in our everyday lives and going forward, especially in Western culture where we have forgotten a lot of the truth of who we are. So a super, super, super conversation. Also, at one stage during the conversation, Solveig talks about a Mayan energy reading and how the Mayans, with all their different calendars, can read your energy and know more about your personality, your traits, your strengths, your weaknesses in real detail, and how that could support you in your life. So since we recorded this conversation, I actually had my Mayan chart read, and it was so super fascinating. It was so in depth, even though it was a general reading, and it made so much sense to me. So if there is anyone who is feeling called to get their energy chart read by Solveig or one of the spiritual leaders, reach out to her on our website as well, and I'm sure she will be delighted to set that up for you like that. It was so fascinating and really, really interesting. So without further ado, thank you again for tuning in. 2 years later, nearly 100 episodes, not many weeks off. Thank you for joining this journey, and please enjoy today's conversation and take from it what you will. There's just so much information. And if you would like to connect with Solveig and learn more about her work and her project, you can go to www.mayanwisdomproject.com or the Mayan Wisdom Project on Instagram and Facebook and connect there. Enjoy. Hello everybody, and welcome, and thanks for tuning in and joining for another episode. And I have a return guest, Solveig Barrios. First of all, you're very welcome and thanks for coming back again.
Thank you so much for having me. You have no idea how happy I am to be here again.
Oh, I'm so happy to connect and talk with you again. And we first connected last November when you joined and you shared a really brilliant episode talking about our four bodies and balancing our four bodies. So anyone who hasn't checked that out yet, go back as well and have a listen, because there is so much incredible information in it and about us nurturing and connecting with each of these aspects of ourselves in order to feel whole and complete. And it's vital to not just focus or eliminate any of them. But you're the founder of the Mayan Wisdom Project. So I'd love for you just to introduce yourself again and your work, just for listeners who maybe haven't heard the first episode so far.
Of course. Yeah, so, well, again, thank you for having me. So I'm Solveig Barrios. I come from Guatemala, and I come from a line of Mayan spiritual leaders. My dad, Carlos Barrios, was one of the most renowned Mayan elders in the world, really, and he was also one of the first people to try to bring the Mayan geocosmovision to the Western society. I am now continuing with his legacy. And I do this through the Mayan Wisdom Project, which is a space where we offer video courses, meditations, practical exercises, and all sorts of things that are taught by indigenous spiritual leaders from communities of Guatemala. Our mission is to help people heal and transform themselves through the ancient knowledge that is so valuable and that the Mayans left us. They were, of course, a very extraordinary civilization, but what most people don't know is that they're still very much alive, and we're just trying to share with the world this beautiful wisdom that holds so much power in it to change lives and understand reality better and just live life to its fullest potential.
Amazing. And yeah, like that, our last conversation was fantastic, and you shared a little bit more who the Mayans were and are, and some of their legacy, and explained a little bit about the Mayan geocosmovision. So again, for anyone who may not have listened and would like a little more context, you can go back and listen to that episode. But something you mentioned there as well, and your website and everything is fantastic, and I want to ask you the importance before we get into today's topic, but the importance of really sharing this indigenous and these ancient technologies and this ancient knowledge nowadays, and
Yeah.
the benefits to Western society as well.
Yeah, yeah. It has so many benefits.
Mm.
I think you have an idea now,
Yeah.
but it's truly amazing. So the Mayans are one of the oldest civilizations in the world, which means they had a lot of time to figure out life. They truly were extraordinary. And just like most of the ancient civilizations, they came to amazing and incredible conclusions about life, the universe, human beings, spirituality, science.
Mm.
As we talked about before in the last episode, they really managed to find balance by putting focus on everything that is physical and material, but also on mental things such as science. They also focused on spirituality and on emotions. And to have all of this balance allowed them to discover and to see things beyond
Mm.
beyond what we can see just by using the rational side of our mind. That perfect balance between science and meaning and emotion and spirituality allowed them to completely not only understand what reality is, what the meaning of life is, what the purpose of every person in the world basically is, but also to master it. And
Mm.
so it's something that my dad used to say a lot because he was so impressed when, quantum physics became so famous.
Mm.
And he was like, whoa, this is exactly the same. This is what
Uh,
the Mayans have been teaching for thousands of years, except we have practices that
mm.
allow us to make use of this knowledge in our daily life. And so basically, the Mayans understand that everything is in life is made out of energy, and they named each one of the energies that vibrate in this plane of existence, and they measured all of that so that daily people can make use of this information to
Mm.
exist in reality with true purpose and true meaning, and understand themselves, understand others, and understand the earth, the galaxy, the universe, and more.
Amazing. And, even when you mentioned quantum physics there as well, and when it started, coming more to the forefront, and your dad was like, wow, this is confirming all the ancient technologies. And that's the truth now as well. For so long, some of these practices and tools, people just considered like woo woo and out there and esoteric, whereas actually quantum physics is I don't think science can never really prove the truth and to the level, but at least it's giving some people who are very factual some grounding and basis and going, oh yeah, actually there is so much here and it is true of the power and the potential we hold. So that's brilliant. But today's conversation as well, something that we wanted to pick up on from the previous conversation was about reality and the nature of reality and the illusion, the great illusion that the Mayans spoke about as well. And it's so fascinating and interesting to me. So that's why I was like, we have to have a follow-on conversation
Yes.
to talk about this. So I would love for you to, well, you'll know where is best to start in order to help us get some understanding around the illusion and reality and what exactly it is.
Absolutely, yes. So that is a beautiful topic. It is absolutely fascinating,
Mm.
and it makes a lot of sense too. So the Mayans believe that this reality is nothing but an illusion that was created by the people that existed, that exist, and that will exist. The Mayans didn't truly have a completely linear perception of time, more of
Mm.
a spiral perception of time. And so they believe that all of this that exists inside of space and time is an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Space and time in Mayan is called Nacht. That's the Mayan word for it. And Nacht literally translates to the big illusion. But I want to start by mentioning how does this illusion come into place and what is this illusion?
Yeah.
What does illusion mean?
Mm,
So
so exciting.
the yes. So the Mayans believe that the universe and existence was created by something that is called Kakulha. Kakulha means ray. Okay,
Mm,
so there were four Kakulhas or four rays, and these are called the four rays of creation. It is very interesting because a lot of the things match what modern science says about creation.
mm,
However, it goes a little beyond that, a little bit deeper than that. So the first ray of creation, okay, and this is, I like to call it the human ray of creation,
mm-hmm.
is Chipika Kulha. Chipi or Chipka Kulha. So Chipi or Chip means small, and Kakulha means ray. So the small ray. So this is the ray of the mind. This is the ray of the synapse. It is the ray of the neurotransmitters of our brain that allow us to perceive reality. And
Mm,
it's very interesting because when the Mayans talk about creation, they include us human beings in this creation because they're trying to explain the creation of life as we perceive it. And so our brain is literally part of that creation. Of course, there
mm,
are many more factors, but this is perhaps the most important rate for us as people because the Mayans believe that when a baby is born, a baby doesn't observe the world in the same way we do as adults.
mm.
So babies perceive energy more than they perceive objects, according to the Maya geocosmovision. Animals as well. So the idea is that as we grow up, people tell us, okay, this is a table,
Mm,
table, 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 table. And so this object, this piece of energy that is configured in a specific way, we name it. And as a matter of fact, neuroscience says that by naming things, we aim at them and we are able to perceive things in a
mm-hmm.
more structured way. So what Chipika Kulha represents, it is just the human creation, the way in which we take in this reality, and the way in which we have configured this reality in the past, in the present, and in the future.
Mm,
And so it is an illusion, but as my dad used to, I'm going to quote him on this because he used to love saying this.
mm,
It is an illusion, but it is an illusion that has shape, mass, volume, colors, smell, taste, senses. So it is an illusion, but it is an extremely heavy, structured, and strong illusion.
mm.
And so if you try to cross a wall, you're going to hit your head for sure. You're going
Yeah.
to be hurt. You're not going to be able to go through the wall because, yes, it is an illusion and everything is made out of energy. But it is an illusion that has been configured so strongly that breaking free from this illusion is a science as well.
Mm.
And there's exercises for this, by the way. They're a little intense, I must say, though, but very
Like
interesting.
what? Seeing as you
Uh,
mention it.
okay, well, there are some exercises that we do, for example, with candles and with fire. So you put candles in front of you, and you have two candles in front of you, but you create a third one through concentration. And
Mm.
so the idea of this exercise is that by creating a third flame that is not there, you can get your brain, like things actually happen inside of your brain for you to be able to do that. And it is a focus exercise in which by creating something that is not there, you are training your brain to A, create reality as you wish it to be, and B, observe reality in a different way. Please don't try this at home.
Yeah.
And I'm very serious about that because there's very specific instructions to this exercise. As a matter of fact, if you do this exercise for more than 20 minutes, you can begin hallucinating and it's really hard to come back from it. We've had a person once that was doing it for hours every day and it took us months to bring her back. So it's not a
Oh,
joke.
yeah.
So, But that should tell you, it's so easy. In the Mayan world, we barely even use any medicine to be able to see beyond.
Mm.
The elders have techniques of tapping and activating the pineal gland, or what I just explained to you. So there's easy ways to break out of this reality.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to GP, so we talk about reality being an illusion, and the thing here that makes GP so interesting is that the way in which we perceive ourselves is also an illusion.
Mm.
Our problems are an illusion. Pain is an illusion. All the things that are like an anchor in your life are an absolute and complete illusion. And we are so immersed in this illusion. That's literally what awakening means.
Mm.
To realize the illusion that we're inside of right now. And once you realize that, it's easy to let go of all of this low vibrational emotions, because all of a sudden it starts to make sense that these are absolutely unnecessary. But we immerse ourselves in the illusions. We we really truly get so focused on basically survival, daily survival, and getting through our problems, getting through our life, getting through all of these things that we completely forget to live.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the importance of understanding Chipika Kulha, the first ray of creation, because we are the creation, but according to the Mayans, we are also the creator. We're
Yeah.
all one, and we have the power to be the absolute creators of our personal reality and make anything that we want happen. And I'll get
Mm-hmm.
more to that a little bit later.
I know,
So
yeah.
I'll
It's there's so many questions coming up because I know so many people are like, but what do you mean? Like, but I feel the pain and I have these problems and these are real. And like you say, we get so immersed and stuck in it. But like that, I think we should continue as well because otherwise we'll never get through it all.
Yeah, no, it's too much.
Yeah.
So it'll take us hours. So yeah, so that's Chipika Kulha. Then there is Rashka Kulha. And Rashka Kulha is the ray of nature. Rash is green, so it's the green ray. So Rash represents everything that is nature. So mountains, rivers, plants, animals, volcanoes, grass, water, the oceans, the lakes, everything that is in nature. So why did the Mayans mention this part of creation in one of the four essentials part that make up for our personal reality? Because, of course, nowadays we are all beginning to witness what happens when we don't pay attention to Rashka Kulha.
Mm.
We are destroying Mother Earth, and we are destroying our own home. And with it, we're destroying ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
because the Mayans believe that the mission and the purpose of the earth is very parallel to the mission and the purpose of humanity. And by destroying it, that is simply a reflection of where we're at as a society and as individuals as well. And so it is so important. I was talking about this lately with someone, and it is very easy for people to disconnect from the problems of this reality.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of things, and I think we all know they're bad, but
Yeah.
we do them anyway.
Yeah.
So we all talk a lot about, oh, we have to be more conscious and live life in a better way and take better care of the planet, of all the other people. But we spend most of our time consuming things that don't support that belief. We spend most of our time doing things and using objects that don't support that belief. And so we know that we're buying certain clothes that people are being exploited for. We know that we're consuming things that will end up in the ocean. We know that we're consuming things that animals were tortured for, but we still do it. And
Mm-hmm.
that is part of the illusion, you see, because we are cheating ourselves through this illusion. And again, I'm talking about aiming the vision. When you aim for something in your life, you put all of your focus on it. And human beings have an amazing ability to completely erase everything that's outside of our bubble.
Mm.
And so Rashka Kulha is so extremely important because we forget to honor the things that we must honor. In the Mayan world, everything is sacred. Human beings are sacred too,
Mm-hmm.
by the way,
Yeah.
but it's because we all belong to this creation. We are all the creation. And so the problem is when we perceive ourselves as individual from everything else, we don't care for everything else
Yeah.
as we should. Because when you take care of other things, you're taking care of yourself as well. The first step, of course, is to take care of yourself. We strongly believe that change is impossible unless it starts from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no way you can start to change the world before you heal and change yourself. So that's Rashka Kulha. And
Yeah.
now we're going to get to the interesting part. Uh,
Well, both of they're so fascinating so far already, and it's just like, I mean, what? How incredible were the Mayans? Because literally everything you have said so far, I'm like, yep, yep, yep. They're things I have learned in my own personal journey that I did not read anything about the Mayans. But the fact that they had all this information as well is just, yeah, it's mind blowing for me. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, it's the
it's
truth.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is. It is amazing. They observed every single aspect of reality and took
Mm,
care of every single thing. Nothing is more important than another thing in the Mayan world. Everything, all the way to one individual,
mm-hmm.
is equally important. So it's
Amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, so the third ray is Nim Kakulha. Nimka Kulha is the big house, and there's a lot of debate in the Mayan communities about Nimka Kulha because no one can agree on what exactly it means. So I'll tell you what the theories are. So Nimka Kulha means the big house, the ray of the big house. So it's basically where we live. And some elders believe that Nim refers to the earth. Others think that Nim refers to the galaxy, to the Milky Way, and others think it refers to the universe. I think I said this before, but I'll repeat it because it's so highly important. The Mayans had 7 different calendars,
Mm,
okay? And all of these calendars were used to measure something that was perceived as something essential in reality. So some of them measured the movements of the moon and how the moon affects us. Some of them measure the movements of the planets and how that affects us on the earth and as individuals. Some of them measured simply time, and they
mm.
were not linear, by the way, very interesting. But I'm not going to get into that
Yeah.
right now because that's another deep topic.
Yeah.
Some of them measured life, and I mean that literally. They measured the energies of life. But one of them went as far as measuring the movements of the galaxy, of the things
Yeah.
that are happening in the galaxy and how the galaxy is moving in the universe. They had galactic maps. They measured where the Earth was in the galaxy and where the rest of the planets and everything that was happening. People wonder, how is this possible? We haven't managed to do this in our society until
Mm-hmm.
now, basically, with the technology that we carry. And so it's been something that it really breaks your mind. How did they do it?
Mm.
I strongly believe that the reason they did it is because of what I mentioned before. They were not only thinking from the rational points of view, but they could see beyond things.
Mm-hmm.
And why, some of you may be wondering as well, what's the point? Who cares? What's happening in the galaxy? Who
Mm-hmm.
cares about what's happening thousands of light years away from here? What's the point on knowing that? But the Mayans found this to be essential, and there is a reason for them finding that to be essential. The Mayans were trying to understand the universe.
Mm.
And I think I said this in the last podcast, but I love this idea that we as human beings are completely unable to picture the universe, even if we wanted to.
Yeah.
We can't
Yeah.
because it's magnificently huge.
Yeah.
Same thing with the galaxy. We have no idea. We can't, it's huge as well, and we cannot even begin to understand and or picture it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come as close as picturing the Earth, it's amazing, but we still can't.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even discovered everything that's happening in the Earth, and most of us walk around the Earth and we don't understand anything
Yeah.
about the Earth. We are conquering it and mastering it, but we barely even comprehend it.
Yeah.
We're still discovering things about birds, something as simple as birds, and we don't understand them fully. We don't understand why certain animals do what they do, or the movements of fire of the wind and the water under the ocean, under the
Mm-hmm.
layers of the earth, on the sky, everywhere. Everywhere there's something happening around us right now, and we're so out of tune with the space even 1 meter away from us right now.
Yeah.
We have no clue, literally no clue. I mean, some people take care of trying to learn and study it, and that is wonderful, but most of us are walking around here thinking we're the owners of it, and we don't even comprehend it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the Mayans, they did. They try to understand everything that exists in this reality. They didn't do what we're doing, which is we're focusing on our ego, on our individual self. We're being so selfish. We are, as I said before, exploiting people, creating slavery, fighting each other, like on huge levels as a society, and also on a personal level. We're creating conflict with people around us. We are sometimes even creating conflict within ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
treating ourselves bad. This is ridiculous because, I mean, we don't understand the earth. We don't even understand human beings. We are
Yeah.
human beings and we don't even understand human beings. And still, we walk around with that big confidence of, like, I know everything and I'm so cool, and, like I'm better, or, with that perception of the ego, of the self. Humble down. This is something that I think took the Mayans so, so far in the path of discovery of literally everything. Humble down. Because if when we're not vibrating with humbleness, we are vibrating with our ego, which is our mind and our perception of who we are, which, by the
Yeah.
way, most likely you're not even who you think you are.
Yeah.
Because if your perception of you is coming from your mind, then probably you believe that you are your reactions to your environment. And that's
Yeah.
not who you truly are. We're constantly just reacting to the environment around us. And we think that's who we are. We're not. We're
Mm-hmm.
not. Because it is possible to stop reacting to the environment around us. And if it is possible to change that, it means it wasn't you in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you can't really change who you truly are. So that's the thing. Understanding something as big as the universe can lead you to understand something as small as yourself, because it's all connected. It's all one thing. We are, and the animals are, and the plants are, and the earth is, and the galaxy is, the universe, comprehending itself in different forms.
Mm.
We are one. The Mayans believe in the 1,000 faced God. I'm not sure if I told you this before,
Yeah.
but
It
what
was.
this
I know you
means,
mentioned it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I always do because it's
Yeah.
beautiful. The Mayans believe, and it's really funny because in most history books, if you ever read about the Mayans, you will learn that they believed in many gods. Not true at all. They only believed in one God, but they believed that God represents itself in everything. And that's the
Mm.
confusion, because people think, oh, there's the God of the water, the God of the humans, the God of the sky. No, no, no. We just believe that God is everything.
Mm.
And what is God, though, right? So we don't even have a word for God in the Mayan language. It's something more like the creator and the
Mm-hmm.
creation. And that's the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's the importance of being in tune with existence. That's why the
Mm-hmm.
Mayans were so passionate and are so passionate about discovering the universe. Because discovering something that is so far away can help you discover what is so close to you. And that is wonderful and beautiful and
Yeah.
amazing.
So
So
powerful. Yeah.
yes, so that's Nimka Kulha. And now comes Hunrakan Kakulha. So Hunrakan Kakulha is the ray of everything. It is the ray of the universe. It is the big, big ray. Huracán, fun fact, we believe that the word huracán in Spanish, which is hurricane, comes
Mm-hmm.
from Hunrakan. It's a Mayan word, and it's perfect to describe it as a hurricane because that's the shape that Hunrakan
Mm.
has. So Hun means one, Ra means leg or foot, and Kan means snake. So the
Mm.
one-foot snake. And the Mayans call this space and time, the universe, Nacht. So the one-foot snake is everything that exists inside of space and time. And it's called snake because they believe it's a huge, massive spiral. And everything that exists outside of Hunrakan is nothing. It's void, basically. It's emptiness. Fun fact, modern science agrees. We
Mm-hmm.
call the universe exists in something that's called a macro worm, the same shape. So the Mayans were right about this. So what is Hunrakan Kakulha? What is the big spiral? What is space and time? As I mentioned before, in Mayan, this is called Nacht, and Nacht translates to the big illusion. So again, we're mentioning that the Mayans believe that everything is an illusion. Everything that exists inside of space and time is an illusion. And that is the universe. It's an illusion. And so now I want to come back closer to us, to human beings, and how do we control this illusion? What is an illusion? So the illusion is everything. We talked about how everything is energy and everything is vibration. Also, we all know that this is true. Modern science also obviously agrees with this. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
literally just energy and vibration. So, what the Mayans did is they started to study this energy and they started to study the energy of everything. So, they started to study the energy of humans, the energy of places, even the energy of every single day. And they studied it from a scientific point of view, but that could be applied in a daily life and spiritual growth way for human beings.
Mm.
And so it is so useful. It is incredibly useful. They gave names to all of these energies and they named the energies of the reality that's close to us, this plane of existence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where one of their calendars comes in, the Cholquij, which is the calendar of life. I think I mentioned it before. And as I said, it literally measures life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what the Cholquij does is it measures 260 energies, and those are the energies that affect us here on Earth. 10 come from the Earth, 10 come from the cosmos, and they all have 13 different manifestations. So that gives you 260, which is a
Mm.
sacred number in the Mayan world. 20 is 2, 13 is 2, and it represents itself in everything there is. And so every day has an energy. Every person is born with an energy, and that energy is surrounded by other energies that are surrounded by other energies. And by being able to interpret and read those energies, the Mayans can know exactly what's going to happen during this day, what the energy is going to be like of this day, what the energy of a person is going to be like, so they can tell you what your energy is of the day in which you're born, what the energy was on the day in which you're conceived, what your destiny is, what's your right
Mm.
hemisphere, your left hemisphere, the energy of your parents, how it affects you, what weaknesses, trends you're going to have, what's your mission, your purpose, what health problems are you more prone to in your life.
Wow.
So it's really deep, and that's just
Yeah.
the very basic summary of what it is. So the Mayans understood that everything is an illusion. They understood what reality is, and they literally created a science that allows them to manage the energy of reality as to become their own creators of the reality, and that is this life.
Mm.
Yeah, basically.
Wow. Yeah. So powerful and like that. I was just mesmerized and like I said before, just confirming and that knowledge of what I've learned so far as well through my own experiences, just like, wow. But I suppose for most people who maybe haven't come across this concept yet, or, you know, talking about illusion and reality, and what are ways in which, you know, and you say how we are the creators of our reality as well. And that's the truth of the power we hold. But again, it's not the information that we're taught in school or anything like that. Usually that's the self-discovery, the self-learning path. But what are some practical steps for someone who may be listening, who may be really confused about what you're talking about and the illusion, because I mean, it's so solid looking, and how can they begin to tap into control and change their personal reality?
Of course, yeah. So it's a very deep topic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you a lot of information all at once that is,
Yeah. And I
been
always
studied.
say as well, if anyone is confused, I'm like, lean into that, because that's the brain trying to connect to something new. So anytime, even now personally, when I feel confused anymore, instead of getting frustrated, I mean, like, what the hell? Why can't I grasp it? It's, again, it's that allowance. It's the acceptance. It's like, oh, something new is trying to connect, and maybe go and come back to it at another stage, you know, that it may settle in a little more.
Of course, because understanding this is like leaning into science, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Science is difficult and it takes a long time to understand and to completely comprehend the theories, the concepts, and the ideas. This is science and beyond. So,
Mm-hmm.
of course, it is a very difficult topic to fully connect with at first, especially.
Yeah.
But I hope it's intriguing as well because it's so deep
Yeah.
and it holds within it the power to change lives in ways that are unimaginable.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
so that's also the key of life. So about what to do, there are many practices that people can follow. Especially in the Mayan world, we believe that things are supposed to be easy when it comes to change and progress. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have a lot of practical exercises that people do. They all vary from healing your past to connecting to energy to becoming aware, awaken, activating your pineal gland, your awakening part of your self, letting go of the ego, all these sorts of things. But
Mm-hmm.
before we really get into any of those practices, which are all very valuable and useful, it is important for people to understand that human beings are made to progress in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first step for anyone to change their life and to truly begin to open the door to a path of self evolution, growth, and personal discovery is to tear down any negative ideas that we have in our brain. So the problem with human beings is that a lot of the things we do function mainly from the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the conscious mind and then we have the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is a recollection of the things that have happened to us since the day that we're born
Mm-hmm.
and the things that happened in our environment and the way that our parents acted, our family acted, the people, our teachers, the people around us. And we start to create our perception of ourselves, as I said before, based on our environment. And so who are we is mostly when we're not aware and when we don't practice daily exercises to change that, who we are is mainly the reactions that our four bodies have to our environment.
Mm-hmm.
So, to grow in any sense, whether it is intellectually or emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, which, as we talked about in the last episode, they're all
Mm-hmm.
equally important. To grow in any way, the first thing that people have to do is to take action. And this is, I'm going to quote my father again. What he used to say was, The spirituality of nowadays has a name, and that name is action. Because as long as we don't take action in life, the exercises are out there. I mean, that's what we do in the
Yeah.
Mayan Wisdom Academy. We have literally a recollection of ancient exercises that are there for people to just come and start practicing.
Yeah. And no more, sorry, and I don't mean to cut across you, but
Hmm.
for people as well, no more than a lot of the time, we know as well some of the actions. It's being more conscious. It's, getting quiet. It's looking at our thoughts. It's meditation. It's connecting to our body. So, just to say as well that they're not way out there things, but like you've said, the important piece always is the action, action, action. Like there are
Exactly.
millions of different things, but it's the action.
That's the first and most important step ever because no matter what you do in life, and that's the thing where people get confused. You see, people think thinking about it is the
Yeah.
same as doing it a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So, but let me tell you, that's absolutely not true. And when it comes to psychological and emotional health, it's easy to get confused. But let's think about physical health. Everybody knows that you could sit down for 6 months and every single day you could watch videos about fitness, read books about health, read books about fitness. You could watch personal fitness coaches teaching you
Mm-hmm.
what techniques work best, but if you don't exercise,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. If
Yeah.
you are not eating the right food, I'm sorry, your health is still going to continue to deteriorate. And that's the problem with spirituality, with emotional stability and psychological stability and mental stability. People
Yeah.
think that listening to it is the same as doing it.
I
Listening to
know.
this podcast right now is great for
Yeah.
you if you're listening, but go ahead and do something
Yeah.
afterwards. Don't just think, "Oh, okay, now I listen to that, I'm okay."
Totally.
No,
And
it's
I can
not true.
attest to that. I can attest to that. I was that person who had read all the books. I had, been into energy work, everything from a very young age. I knew it all cognitively, but I wasn't taking action. I wasn't living it. And it's only when I started living it and making the changes that the immense shifts happened. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't just read and know it. So yeah, I could definitely confirm that.
Absolutely. And a lot of us could argue that the world is a bad place. It would be
Mm-hmm.
easy to create that argument and say that there's evil and things are negative. And even within ourselves, we have this very strong tendencies to try to do the opposite of what's good. And if you look at people, it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going out there and consuming things that you know are not good for you, doing things that are not good for you. Most of us practice self-sabotage in one form or another.
Yeah.
A lot of people have neurotic behaviors and thoughts in this
Yeah.
society. We could argue that this society is dark and negative and bad. And guess what? That's probably true. But also, guess what? This world, and according to the Mayans, we live in polarity. And so this world is made out of polarity, that bad and evil and laziness and procrastination and horrible negative thoughts and bad actions are part of this reality. But human beings were able to come to this planet, which is a chaotic place that,
Mm-hmm.
yes, indeed is full of negative things. You go and learn about a topic, what's happening to the earth, what's happening to kids that live in countries where there's war right now. Go learn about what's happening in third world countries. You'll probably finish understanding it and you'll probably cry and be
Mm-hmm.
like so disappointed on this planet. But that is not an excuse. It is our duty as human beings to get better
Yeah.
because we have polarity outside of us, we have polarity inside of us, but we are also one of the few creatures in existence that is capable to reason and that is capable to thrive under the worst circumstances.
Mm.
It is our lows that make us go our highest. It is the tremendous amounts of pain in our life that we experience that bring us growth, and we're capable to suffer one time next to another and another and another and another and another and life. And if you're listening to this, you probably have been there. There's
Mm-hmm.
probably been times where life punches you and immediately punches you again, and then it punches you harder.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still here. you know? We are still capable of smiling and joking during those times. We're capable of standing up, and it is in those moments that we get better. We
Yeah.
need polarity because it is pain is the greatest teacher of all life. Negative emotions are the greatest, biggest key to our evolution. They are here to teach us what it is we need to work on. And
Yeah.
individually, inside of us, it is our duty of life to do that, to say, stop. If I don't do anything, then I'm probably going to have all these negative things come up in my life inside and out. So it is my duty as a person to do something about myself. And then when I'm done doing something about myself, then to do something about the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we are here for.
Yeah.
So that's what the Mayans do. And that's the beauty of the Mayan world is that we never, ever, ever ignore the negative. We
Mm.
never, when we read your Mayan chart, what I was telling you about your personal energy, half of it is good and half of it is bad. And
Mm-hmm.
we talk about the bad as much as we talk about the good. When we do ceremonies, we talk about the bad things. There are energies that are negative. There are numbers of the energies that come on every day. And we know this day is carrying a negative energy. We know this is heavy, this is bad. That's important. That is
Mm-hmm.
part of life. So also another key is to stop thinking that that's not the problem with people is it's so easy to be good when you're okay. It's easy to do things right when you're happy, when you're in a good mood, when the day is good and people are nice around you. Then anybody in the world could do what's right. It is when things are not okay. That's what determines what type of transformation, evolution, and healing you're going to have in your life. What type of growth you're going to have in your life. It is when things are not okay that will determine the rest of your life. How do you act in those moments? And that's
Yeah.
what we have techniques for to heal what was not okay in the past, what's not okay now. How do we stop resisting negative emotions, oppressing negative things, and also stop with the illusion that that's not real? We can't just ignore things and hope they're going to go away. And that's part of the reality that we're in. And we should celebrate that as well. We
Yeah.
strongly believe that we should celebrate the bad because the bad is also part of what love is, because it's here to teach us what love is not and what we need to do in order to achieve love. And the good things are here to teach us what love is. And none of us are victims.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's a victim. So in life, never ever victimize yourself or others. I'm sure because there's a lot of random factors to life as well. And I'm sure that a lot of people have been through horrible things. But then you can also turn that into your superpower in life.
Yeah.
Because if you manage to survive horror in life, then you can also change yourself into being the happiest version of yourself and making the world a better place through the strength that you have acquired through that pain.
Yeah. So true, so true. And it's funny, actually, even just yesterday, last night, I was thinking about, because again, as a person who was completely shut off to emotions and feeling, I absolutely adore it now. Like you say, that pain, that discomfort, that is where all the wisdom is. And that's what we're here to do as well. We're here to transmute that pain and to learn and to bring in higher vibrations. And last night I was just thinking, I was like, oh my God, it's because we're all so terrified, because the only solutions that society gives us is either distract, numb, avoid, shut out. And, you know, there's plenty of things to numb ourselves and distract ourselves with, whether it's drink, alcohol, sex, gambling, online shopping, binge watching TV, scrolling on the phone. Like, there's so many options. Or the other option is to really sit in it and become it. And that is your identity. And then you go around in this victim mode for your life. Whereas actually the space in between those things is this whole process of feeling. and allowing and transmuting and growing from it, evolving. And I truly believe that's what we're all here as well. And, you know, like you mentioned, that polarity, yes, we live in polarity, but again, that comes back to quantum physics and where are we putting our focus? And if we keep focusing
Yes.
on the pain and the difficulties and the challenges and the fears, well, we're going to keep growing that. And that's why the work is to feel it all, but then to choose and decide something better. And we're like, yeah, this is shit. This is horrendous. But you know what? I'm going to feel it and I'm going to do something better. I'm going to reach for a higher vibration. I'm going to still bring that love no matter what. And that is what we're all here to do collectively as well. And I just love it. That was such a powerful conversation. And thank you for sharing all that as well towards the end, because I think that really just brings it all together.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you for what you just said because that is absolutely true. You have to always ask yourself what you're aiming for. And just to last thing I'm going to say, please, anyone who's listening, aim for good in life, aim for dreams, for goals, for beauty, because it is in that social experiment. I don't know, Karen, if you've ever watched this, but there is this videos where they tell you focus on this basketball game. And then you watch the video and you focus on the basketball game. And right at the end, they tell you, did you notice something weird? And then they show it again, and it turns out there was a gorilla in the middle of the basketball court all along, but you didn't notice it.
Notice it,
And
yeah.
it's really mind-blowing that you couldn't notice something that was standing out so weird and crazy. But that's what life is. You were aiming for the basketball game. You were so focused on that you couldn't perceive the rest of your environment. So if any of you have a lot of negative things happening in your life, it's time for you to ask yourself, what am I aiming at? Because the universe will completely change around you, and that's part of being the creator. If you start aiming for something, the universe will reconfigure itself around you to bring you to where it is you want to be in life. So when you aim for good, for progress, for life to be better with you and for the people around you, that will start to reflect itself in your life. And the opposite is also true. So I just wanted to leave you with that because Karen, you mentioned something that reminded me of that. And thank you. And thank you so much for that.
Oh, not at all. I swear I'm literally like lit up and nearly have tears in my eyes as well in, you know, these last messages being shared because again, this is the truth. This is the truth and the power that we hold, that we have. Like our focus is our power. It's everything. And like you're saying, you know, what are you aiming for? Or aim for the good, aim for the dreams, aim for the basketball, because the universe will conspire and configure to support it. And that's what we all need to do now, individually and collectively, to make this huge shift. So it's just so, so empowering. And thank you so, so much for coming and sharing again. And please just share again where people can find out more about your incredible work.
Yes, absolutely. So as I said, we have the Mayan Wisdom Project, and in it we have an academy where people can come and learn how to apply everything we talked about today and more, of course, because as you know, there's a lot more. We also had another episode and it never seems like enough time.
I know.
Because that's how deep this world of the Maya Geocosmovision is. We're working with some of the most renowned spiritual leaders of Guatemala that are the leaders of the spirituality inside of the indigenous communities. And right now we're working all together and collaborating to get these messages out so that people can come to the academy. And what they can do in the academy is that they can learn the theory, as we talked about today, but also turn wisdom and knowledge into action. And for that, we have practical exercises that help people get through all of the step by step of personal growth through ancient techniques. And for that, you can visit our website, which is mayanwisdomproject.com. And we're also on Facebook and on Instagram as the Mayan Wisdom Project. So go check it out.
Amazing. Thank you so much again. And like always, I'll link everything on the show notes. And yeah, just honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and for sharing again such powerful, important and empowering and uplifting messages. And, you know, I think things can seem really hopeless at times, but that's not the truth, and that's not the message. We're here to shift. And we have the power. And I think sharing these kind of messages and having these conversations can reactivate that within us again. So thank you so much for joining and for everything that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for having me again. I was telling people like, oh my gosh, I enjoyed this podcast so much. So I'm super happy to be back. And thank you for having me. This was a wonderful conversation again.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get notified every time a new show is released. Get more information on this week's guest as well on my website www.soulpowerlight.com.